Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this podcast. This is Elijah Snyder, who's the operations manager for Aspen Landscaping in Prescott, Arizona. You've been with the company for a while, running the show, kind of making sure things flow. Tell me a little bit about Aspen Landscaping, how you got into this business, and how you got into the role that you're in today.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So thanks for letting me be a part of this. First of all, if I was to start at the beginning, our company was founded in 2007, and just a serendipitous thing, my dad is a general contractor and actually gave the first referral to my business partner to start this company. As a big landscaping install project.
Oh, wow.
He took on this project, and we are still serving that customer every month to this day. In fact, he is going to, he's getting very, very elderly, and his son is taking over the property, but we're still managing that property. But essentially, it's founded in 2007. My business partner and boss, Corey, is a really excellent guy. He's like a lot of trade guys, all the integrity in the world, all of the hands-on skills in the world.
Sure.
But just didn't really know much about business because he was focused on doing a great job for his clients. And
Absolutely.
Fast forward to 2021, this company was doing about $50,000 a month, and he was overwhelmed, just neck deep in everything, didn't understand how to use technology, didn't understand how to manage a team or go through a hiring process, or didn't have a lot of professionality in place to help him manage all of that demand from customers who wanted more service. I had done some work in the field for him as a maintenance guy, managing his maintenance accounts for years earlier.
Right.
I had moved away, come back to town. I need a more stable job while I'm getting settled back in my hometown. And I asked him, hey, I guess I'll jump on a maintenance truck and help you out again if you're down. And he was kind enough to say, you've learned some things working for yourself here and there. Why don't you come into the business side of things and help me in the office? And the rest sort of really rapidly escalated from there. In May of 2023 is when I actually came in. At that point, essentially, it was sort of a marriage of heart and mind, or in our business, we like to say I'm the gas and he's the brakes. It connected really well together, where
Sure.
he is so valuable in part because he's humble and he's open-minded. And so he's got this younger kind of business-oriented guy coming in, giving all these suggestions, and he just let me run with it. And
Nice.
last month, we did over 300K. That's becoming about the new benchmark for us, and that's in about 2 years flat. And so we've seen incredible growth, really exciting things, but that's sort of how we wound up in this situation, and we're as surprised as anybody else is and feel like we have really stumbled into a good thing. So
Good. So tell me, what were the key things that you noticed about the industry that maybe others that are having challenges with just are not really facing, and yet you guys did?
Yeah, you're saying challenges that other people are not facing? And
Yeah,
our
you
industry
had to
does?
face, right?
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so the unique challenge of landscaping, I would say, could boil down to a few things. Number one, you have a perception of low skill. So the clientele enters into the relationship, they have significantly less credibility attached to you being a landscaper than they would attach to, say, a roofer or plumber or electrician.
Right.
Then you have, and so that depresses prices, and that affects brand in a big way. And then the another thing is landscaping involves a broad variety of materials because nobody wants a monochromatic yard. So I'm very envious of fencing guys, for instance.
Yeah.
Because you can figure out your linear foot pricing and streamline everything in this beautiful way. Roofers are like this. Or electricians and plumbers, frequently, it's normal for them to come out and just charge you hundreds of dollars per hour to do what needs to be done. Landscapers, they kind of want a flat quote within a budget, and it's a very complex project with different materials. So I think that is a part of the challenge that landscapers face. And then I think the third thing would be, because of that perception of low skill and that cultural attitude towards landscapers, nobody in high school is daydreaming, oh, someday I'm going to grow up and be a landscaper.
Right.
And so when you have these young, able-bodied, intelligent young men come out of high school, or women, and they want to pursue a career, if they're even open to the trades at all,
Right.
they're open to welding or something with a little bit more prestige attached to it. And so we have to work very hard to overcome that and demonstrate ourselves as a legitimate and exciting employer so we can find good talent.
Absolutely. And regarding finding good talent, does one come with some, I don't know, like resume or photographs, or do we train them on our own?
Our approach has shifted over the last couple of years. At first, it was just any warm body, let's get them out there and see how they do. And I think there might be a season of business where you got to be that way temporarily. But I think what we've moved to is a strategy where we approach finding new talent as seriously as you approach finding new customers.
Good.
And so high volume of advertising. We want as many applicants. If I could have 100 applicants a day, I would take that.
Yeah.
And then we filter and sift through those. And we do ask for a resume and 3 references now, because that will filter out 7 out of 10 manual labor applicants who are too lazy to put together a resume. And we do an interview process. So we have moved towards a much more corporate approach to hiring, because those big companies do it that way for a good reason. And we kind of learned from them and started to adapt those practices.
Right, absolutely. And also your representatives are in the field. They're the ones that can give you create the good impression from people driving by, seeing the professionalism. Perhaps it's in the attire, perhaps it's in the work, and an awareness of that. You're actually, even though you're out in someone's front, back, side, whatever yard, people are watching you, and it does make an impact, right? Good.
Yeah, and a big part of what defines the customer experience with trades is something I call blue collar values. So you have the blue collar values of pride of work and reliability and honesty and integrity. Those are not things that scale, really. Those are things that exist at the personality level.
That's right.
And so the only meaningful way I think a trade company can scale is to be really excellent at acquiring good leadership, so that since my boss and I can't be cloned and sent into the field, we got to find a guy who shares our values, who can give that customer that same experience of, hey, I know a guy, he'll come over, he'll fix my stuff, he'll be polite and respectful and hardworking, and keep that blue collar value spirit around the business as we grow.
Good.
The challenge.
Absolutely. When you look at, I always say, like, a resume gets you an interview, the personality gets you the job, right? And it's got to be a good fit. When those things fit really well, it's definitely over my years. My background is a physical therapist, so far away from anything in trades. But you can get a guy with a great resume, all kinds of training, all kinds of experience, and then he has the personality of a wet fish or cold fish, a dead fish, right? And you're like, well, you got a business where you have to communicate with people, you're not going to make it. And then you have another person with good skills. Of course, you never hire anybody with bad, but they match it up with the personality, the work ethic, the drive, the aspiration to be part of a team instead of a bunch of individuals. And I would imagine, as you've grown in size, that creating an environment where the people who work there feel like they're part of something bigger than just a job.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I told somebody this the other day and it stuck with me, is I think about retention more than I think about any other problem.
Good.
Every single day, I'm conscious of retention. And retention is not as difficult as people make it. People make it difficult because they don't start with empathy. If you start with, how do I get these people to do what I want, that's not going to work well. But if you start with empathy and you think, if I was working at this company, what would I want my life to look like? All of a sudden, you have endless ideas of how you can make your workplace attractive to a great field technician who, and so for me, I every day I'm thinking about the employees and I'm thinking, am I asking them to do something in an overly complicated way that's going to frustrate them? Am I giving them a reason to come into work that doesn't just mean their paycheck? Have I said thank you for, if there's one guy who's excellent and one guy who sucks, does the guy who's excellent get the exact same treatment and no reward, no recognition? And so when you start thinking that way, part of it is what you said, is building this. Nobody wants to be just their profession. So you've got to give them the opportunity to be more than that. You've got to give them the opportunity to be a leader, to be a intelligent person, to be a charismatic person, to be a person with a future. And so you create that environment in your company and you say, hey, I want more for you. And that creates a loyalty that I've experienced because they genuinely believe that we want more for them. I compare it to the difference between raising a thoroughbred racehorse and being a dairy farmer. A lot of trade businesses are dairy farmers where you just milk this guy until he dies. I don't want to do that. I want to raise you for performance and cultivate your own excellence.
That's right. You have people in these types of work, it's hard. It beats your body up. And so, like, creating opportunities that extend beyond something that they're doing, this heavy physical labor that could possibly possibly move them into some leadership or open up an area, build the brand on a whole other scale, drop a location, drop a pin someplace further away from Prescott to open up a whole new, run a crew, any of those types of things. I mean, do you actually have anything where you sit down and like work with kind of your key leaders to play a game or to create an environment where they can see that future down the road?
Yeah. So every Tuesday at 6:30 in the morning, that's normally our start time. And instead we take a half hour with anybody who has leadership over anyone. Or
Good.
sometimes we'll even break that rule and it'll be somebody who just has leadership potential.
Yeah.
And we read through a leadership book during the week and we discuss what we've read. So right now we're on Start With Why by Simon Sinek, which it's been interesting because that book is very much at the leadership corporate level. How do you design a company?
Right.
But I'm bringing them in on the design and I say, hey guys, if we should build our business based off of the values we believe in, what are the values that you hold? What are the things that you think should represent us? It turns out, guys, landscapers can be very intelligent and thoughtful people, and they bring great ideas in, and allowing them to express that part of them. It's interesting, Sean. I've had two kinds of employee with this. There are guys who come in and they're so weirded out by the thing because they have embraced the position of being a dairy cow in their previous jobs. And so why are we wasting time with this? All they know how to do is work. And it almost breaks my heart because it's like, hey, it's actually because I respect you more than that I'm making you stop and talk about leadership for a minute.
Yeah.
But that's been the forum in which we have those conversations. And it probably costs us, we probably pay a few $100s a week in payroll to make that happen. It's
Sure.
worth every penny because the guys come in with a sense of purpose.
That's right. You have like this purpose, like I'm all about the activity, the group, what we're doing. You have that's that when you can pull that kind of energy together. There's a lot of trust goes with that. There's a lot of guys figure it out versus, well, you didn't tell me, so what was I supposed to do, kind of thing. It shifts the entirety of everything. In my work as a coach consultant, it's one guy is maybe the one that says take the hill, but the rest of the guys take the hill. And so if you can't get agreement and cooperation from your team, you can get it with a stick, or you can get it with being able to deliver a message that gets the maximum agreement and cooperation, and granting them importance and value, and not in lip service, but because people can see through that, right? And so being able to really deliver it in a way that they felt like you're reaching them, you cared about them, and you want to help them. That's key. It's nice that you do that. Good.
Sean, actually, me and you had a conversation the other day, and you said something interesting. You emphasized how powerful in sales using a stick, using a negative incentive or a pain point can be at getting someone to take action. I'm curious, do you experience that it is almost inverted when it comes to employees? Because I have found that the more I have to threaten somebody to do their job, they honestly need to go. But if somebody is already doing their job, I find that I just have gotten a lot of ROI on the leadership side from carrots more than sticks. And I'm curious if that's your experience or if you would add anything to that.
Well, 100%. But let me just kind of build out a little bit of our talk the other day, just so it's very clear. So from a sales perspective, sometimes people will make a purchase decision based upon what they have to lose if they failed to do so, more so than what they have to gain by doing so. And that was kind of the context. But when it comes to the personnel, I believe that it comes right down to like being able to name exactly the standard that you expect that end result to be, and then you evaluate against that standard. And if they don't know what the standard is, like what this looks like, it's almost like when my son was younger, I felt like I should like take a picture of a clean room and put it on his wall and go, that's the standard, son. That's what we want it to look like, right? So, but being able to let people know what either an ideal result with that particular home or business should look like, and then evaluate them against it. So you're not going in and go, see that, they didn't know. So being able to let anyone know what the end result that you want, and that it's achievable, and that they have the know-how to actually pull it off, and then only evaluate against that standard. It is your podcast, not mine, but that is what I always recommend, is knowing what the end result's going to be, and go from there.
No, I just wanted to integrate those two insights there because I think you're right. And that's a great point about clear expectations. Somebody, I think it was somebody from the Cardone people I once heard say all conflict comes from unclear expectations. And that definitely changed my life. Even my marriage, I try my hardest to approach my wife not, why are you doing this thing I don't like? And say instead, hey, honey, I need you to help me create this scenario. Can we work on that? And it's so much more effective because sometimes she didn't even realize what I was hoping to lead our family in. Same with my employees and everybody. It's a really good thought there.
It's like I don't ever want to create something with somebody that I wasn't willing to receive. Like my wife and I, we've been married 38 years, and in those 38 years, I mean, we've never raised our voices. We've never we never yelled, right? And I think part of that is I don't like to be yelled at, so why should I yell at somebody?
Yeah.
So and I think that's the kind of as a general point, but for me, sometimes if you think about being a child, right, the most powerful thing a parent could ever say is, honey, you've disappointed me. I mean, that's like stab me with a knife, right? The paddling, send to your room, time out, all those things, but you disappointed me was really painful. So, you can get what you want without having to use the dark arts, right? And you can, dialing in your ability to grant importance to the other person, understanding of where they're at.
Yeah.
To get you a long way. So yeah, it sounds like that's a focus that you take on,
You're right. Yeah. So back to the trade business or the landscaping business. So like I mentioned earlier, my boss and business partner, Corey, it's very normal what happened to him, where he was good at his trade, not good at business, gets overwhelmed. The problem is, and I was discussing this with a client earlier, that is so normal that it becomes the industry norm.
Sure.
And you start to just take for granted that every business has to run this way. And so when I think back about other jobs I've had in landscaping, I think of fear, and the fear of getting chewed out, fired, embarrassed in front of people because the men that I worked for, it's not that they were evil or they were hurtful people. They didn't know how to motivate anyone. And the only tool they could reach for was fear and anger and why aren't you doing this right? And so I think
humiliate you into productivity, right? Kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And so when I came into management, I wasn't big brain thinking, oh, I'm going to find these alternative ways to incentivize. I was just empathizing with my younger self and saying, I really hated when somebody chewed me out over a minor mistake. So I'm never going to do that. And I made the decision. And then I thought about, man, I always hated it when my boss came to me and said, hey, why aren't you upselling the customer, and why aren't you knocking on doors, and it always felt like so selfish to me, like, you want me to build your whole company as a hobby? Right. And so I started thinking, how can I motivate people to actually care about building the company? And that's where we created incentive structures and things, and sort of just by not wanting to replicate what I'd seen in the past, I stumbled into a better way of leading people. And I think in some industries, maybe it's more common, but in landscaping, it's very unusual to show that amount of concern for incentivizing and encouraging your employees. And so it has benefited us the more we've leaned into that, for sure.
Good. So do you have some kind of a performance-based or some kind of bonus-related system that you utilize?
Yeah, certain positions are on a commission-based payment system. I would like that to be everybody. It would be a difficult transition, so we're taking our time with that one. Yeah. But in the meantime, we have a point system. And each point is worth $10, not a lot of money.
Sure.
But the reason for that is that you can assign multiple points to a more difficult task and 1 point to a very easy, simple task. But they're all tasks that benefit the business. So if one of our employees gets a 5-star review from one of their clients, we give them a point, $10 just for getting a good review. That encourages them to ask for it and seek it out.
Sure.
If somebody upsells an additional service and is able to do it on the spot, they get 2 or 3 points depending on it. And so, hey, I'll clean your gutters out while I'm here on the property.
Sure.
They get $20, which is marginal for us. I have never felt the expense of this bonus system. You never notice it, because if it's structured right, the field people will basically pay for it themselves through their excellence.
Right, absolutely. And I always find that when you use a bonus system to make a person productive that isn't really on the team, it almost never works. But when you put it together with people who are on the team, want to see the best for the team, know as the team grows, they have potential to grow. Yeah, they like that stuff and they'll support it. That is very, very good. Now, how right now that you've grown the business significantly, how do you go about it? I mean, how did you make this happen? Certainly you have kind of the low-hanging fruit of the client base that you already have, but what kind of things do you do to get new business?
Right now, we are pouring all of our ad spend into Google-related stuff. So that's Google pay-per-click. A lot of people don't realize, and I'm sure you know this, but Google does not mean one thing. It means 5 things, right? And so there's the pay-per-click Google ads and the local service ads. We get a lot of new clients through that. But right now, we're rebuilding our website to sort of bring our SEO up to standard, which will lead to more organic results as well.
Right.
I don't favor one or the other. Something that drives me a little crazy is trade guys, especially landscapers, have this attitude that free is always better. And so it's like, hey, don't don't waste your money on advertising, just do SEO. That's about as stupid as you could possibly imagine.
Okay.
Advertising is not a waste of money. You got to be willing to invest. So to me, we're trying to do both the free SEO work, but also pour some money into Google Ads and max that out until we feel like it's time for a new acquisition channel.
Okay. And then it's like what, click to call type of thing, and they make a call to office or
click to call or click to a landing page, something like that.
Very good. When you get these guys, is there a geographical area that you cover, and beyond that you can't take or don't take, or what's your driving distance from the center? Yeah.
We're in a unique position right now where we're in a rural area. So our town, for us to do a service area, it's not so much about the municipality as it is like a set of municipalities that are more clustered. So we have 8 cities, and I tell my team to not take any work outside of those 8 cities. But those 8 cities are county-wide.
Okay.
And the areas that I'm excluding are essentially just sort of hyper rural, where you're going down a dirt road and there's not a lot of money there anyways.
Traveling and then getting from you get one job that day or whatever.
But I know a guy in a major metro area. For him, he can literally go zip code by zip code, and he doesn't really have an end in sight to that expansion. So he has to limit himself to certain zip codes rather than spreading out over the county like we do. I think it really depends on where you live.
And so when you get these leads, then do you have a phone team that takes those, or is it, I don't know, how do you handle those?
Yeah, right now it's our office manager. I would like to take that task off of her plate once we grow a little bit more.
Sure.
There's always that tension of you want to get the most productivity out of the fewest amount of people,
sure,
but you also don't want to understaff yourself into a hole. So you got to balance that.
Right. And then you got the tire kickers that just want you to come out and put a stamp on it of get an estimate, and how sincere they are, or if they ever used landscaping services where they used to live. That
exactly,
qualify people a little bit, like on the hotness scale, so to speak. They've had this service before, and they're moved to a new location, and then you can even ask, who did you work with, and they say, I don't know, Joe Blow Landscaping in Denver, and you look up Joe Blow, and you go, he does some good stuff, right? So now you know that this person is a hot prospect. But if your office manager, she's really grooved in and knowing how to do that, to put that on somebody else's hands is like a lifeblood, right? That could have some adverse effect if they don't know what they're doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, we provide her with scripts, and she is very talented on her own, but
good.
One of the million things that I've stolen from larger white-collar organizations is qualifying and sales scripts, because the norm within landscaping is not that, and it helps to cover you a little bit.
Sure.
If she's having a bad day, if she has to move away and we got to replace her with a new receptionist, or we expand and those scripts help us to always qualify out. And they have, listen, if the answer to this question is XYZ, tell them they're outside of our service area, even if they're next door.
That's right. And when you're small, you're kind of built around the personality or know-how or quick wit of people. As you begin to scale, it has to grow through systems and standardization and SOPs and those types of things. I mean, not to make robots out of people, but to put a kind of guardrails on the path so that within this range, that's where we're going, becomes vitally important. And I think for some people in the trades, definitely not many, I've talked to a lot, right? Definitely not everyone, but there's quite a few people that are just like a little bit of a mom and pop, and they haven't been able to figure out all that, or you got some special guy who has a knack, whatever it happens to be, and people love him, they all want their work to be done by him or her, and so everything collapses on that individual. If he were to croak, that would be the end of his business, right? And to be able to build a business that can last beyond you as an owner, to make yourself less and less valuable and the organization more valuable, especially if a time comes there ever when one considers, I want to sell my business, right? And so bringing you in, so you're the ops guy, so you're kind of like, you dream it, you go over it with your partner, you kind of get some agreement, and then you launch. Is that kind of how you two have been working together? And so you've had more wins than losses, so you get to continue. Is that how it works?
Yeah. One of the things, and you probably know this from helping business people, is your losses are way more more heavily than your wins. It's so much easier to lose credibility than it is to build it, unfortunately. And so
Sure.
definitely I've had some L's, and we could talk about that. Each
Sure.
one of those, I had to spend some time rebuilding wins again to
Uh-huh.
get the team, hey, trust my ideas. I know what I'm doing. I know I made
Mhm.
that one move a little bit funky.
Yeah.
And so that's so true. But it's great. The goal from the beginning has been, and this was intuitive to me, but
Mhm.
I didn't realize this is not intuitive to a lot of business owners. I came in and I said, of course, what my boss wants to do
Mhm.
is build a company that operates with or without him. So he can go golfing, go on vacation with his family,
Mhm.
so that he can hand it down to his kids and they can be generationally wealthy, or so
Mhm.
that he can sell it someday.
Sure.
I assumed that was what everyone wanted.
Mhm.
Not everyone is fully conscious of the value of that.
Sure.
And so I came in with this attitude, how can I obsolete my boss? And as we have progressed, that's become more and more of a reality. We finally got him off sales. So now he's coming in every day and he's essentially training people. It's about
Yeah.
all he has left to do. That's been a dream come true, but that's something you got to set as a goal first,
Yeah, I spent a few years in private equity acquiring businesses, and one of the things you find when you do this kind of a game is you really look at that owner and you go, how involved is he? Because you give him his money, he says he's going to continue working for a few years, but really he buys a Winnebago and travels the country and you kind of lose him,
Yeah.
right? It's like someone throw you $1 million, I don't know, you showing up at 7 o'clock the next morning, you might say you will, but you might not. And so
Yeah.
you have to have, you do have to have that good leadership group underneath you, and you got your partner, Corey, to take a strong look at that and see where his strengths are. And I've had that over the years. You have the technical guy who's the owner, but he really, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of you've got a ship, right? And the captain should be steering the ship, but he likes making meals for the people on the ship in the galley, and so he's a great cook, but the ship runs to shore.
Yeah.
To be able to put somebody there who's actually going to steer it. And so, in Corey's situation, he could be the face of, or the handshaker, or the name on all the billboards, or whatever it would be, but it's kind of built behind the scenes through good people like yourself. So let me just ask you this as we kind of move towards the closing up of this particular period here. Is there any advice that you would want to give to landscaping companies to go from a couple 100,000 to 300,000 a month, a couple 100,000 a year to 300,000 a month? Any piece of advice you want to share?
It's so hard to always get those nutshell statements out. Here is what I carry in my brain that I think, for all of my failures and flaws, has led us to this successful period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I call it the Jeff Bezos rule. And the Jeff Bezos rule is this. Does Jeff Bezos do it in his company? If not, there's going to come a time when you need to stop doing it. If he does do it in his company, there's going to have to come a time where you need to start doing it. So it's unrealistic to compare yourself to somebody like Bezos, who is this billion-dollar generating savant.
Mm-hmm.
And so the point is not, oh man, you should feel bad because you're not running Amazon. The point is that between you and Amazon is a matter of degrees. It's not it's not a qualitative difference, it's a quantitative difference, to be overly sciencey. They're just a much bigger operation. And so that means that as you grow, each step of your growth will involve shaking off behaviors that are associated with a tiny mom and pop business and embracing behaviors that are associated with a larger company. And if you can walk into work every day and say, what could I stop doing or start doing that would bring us a little closer to Jeff Bezos? I think you'll have an abundance of ideas of how to improve your company at all times.
Exactly. Like our motto right there, little changes lead to massive success.
Yeah,
it's kind of a thing where, if you're big, a little change might be monumental to somebody who's small. And then it's like, where can we get momentum going? You initiate too much change, you get nothing but pushback, and I always say that all change is met with some degree of resistance. It's not like, hey, we're going to do it this way. Yeah, it's high five, it's not like that. There's always a pushback. And so if you can maximize your agreement and cooperation on what you want to accomplish, you'll get where you want to go sooner.
I like that. All change is met with some degree of, I'm going to write that down. That's almost a law of physics, right? It's almost beyond personality. It's just it's the way things happen.
Yeah, but it is. It's like when I have clients, I went over it and like nobody wanted it. You could tell nobody said anything. No one thought it was a good idea. It's like they never think it's a good idea, right? So you let them take a little small bite, and next thing you know, you put the medicine inside of a donut, and then they eat that, and eventually, you make bigger changes. But sweeping big changes usually asks for like a mutiny or lynching or something like that, right? So little changes, keep the little changes in place. place, right? So Elijah, it was great talking to you, but if somebody wanted to reach out to you and maybe pick your brain or get some ideas from you, how's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, so a new thing for me, I've been sharing just free ideas of how we learned to
Mhm.
operate our business on social media. So, Landscaping Level Up, one word on Instagram,
Okay.
Landscaping Level Up. Try to post a video every day, and each one is a tidbit that I think is actionable advice for a landscaping business owner. So, but that would probably also be helpful if you're a home services guy. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's where to find more information.
Very good. We'll make sure that that's visible when we're finished this, when you're probably seeing it all now, but across the screen. Thank you very, very much, Elijah. I totally appreciate your time and hope to talk to you soon.